participate. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will call this meeting to order. This is Morgantown City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, January 6th at 7:14 p.m. And we will ask the clerk to first please call the roll.
Yes, Joe Buganim. Jody Hollingshead. Here. Wheezy Michael.
Here.
Jenny Celine. Here. Mark Downs.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Butcher.
Here.
Mayor Trumbull.
Here. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have December 16th, 2025 special meeting minutes and December 16th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? Approved by consensus. Great. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence to share?
No, Mayor.
I had a few items. We received a holiday card from Governor Morrissey and his wife to City Council. We received a thank you letter from the Appalachian Citizens Law Center thanking us for our black lung resolution. They sent a photo of them. We can pass that around. And this came to my home. It's from the Community Coalition for Social Justice. They wanted us to be aware that they are having their 20th annual Martin Luther King Day celebration on Monday, January 19th at 2 p.m. It is on Zoom. If you go to their social media, you can find a link to register for that. If any of you are interested, you can take a picture of this and, or we can have the clerk scan it in and send. Does anyone else have correspondence they would like to share? Seeing none, we have no public hearings this evening. Our unfinished business is boards and commissions. I believe we have a few board and commission appointments to make. Is there anyone wishing to make?
I'll nominate John Trumbull to serve, be reappointed to the Woodburn Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I need to abstain?
Sure.
I will abstain. Other appointments to make?
I'd like to nominate Brennan Williams to reappointment to the Traffic Commission.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor? And that is my 5th Ward Traffic Commissioner.
I'd like to nominate Michael Jones for the Historic Landmarks Commission.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor? Yes. Great.
Richard Brooks to the MUB Board.
Second.
Thank you. Great. All in favor? Yes. Councilor Michael, do you have an appointment?
I would like to nominate Colin Street for the Planning Commission for the 3rd Ward.
Second.
Nice. Thank you. All in favor? We failed to discuss this again before we came out, but we are also this evening supposed to appoint the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency members. They are now going to be on staggered terms, and since the executive summary was distributed to council, through my work on the board and commission list, we have determined that Michael Mills would not like to be reappointed to this agency. So Adelheid Schalp has agreed to serve in a 2-year term from January 2026 to December of 2027 instead of a 1-year term, which would leave. Do we need to do these individually, or can we approve them as a?
Approving a slate would be fine.
So, is there someone willing to motion to approve Brent Bailey and a vacant slot for January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026 to approve Jessica McDonald and Adelheid Shout to January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2027, and approve Dave Satterfield and another vacant slot from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2028.
I would like to so move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of those?
Yes.
And that is just to get the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency terms staggered per their updated ordinance. Is there any other board and commission appointments that we have to make? Seeing none, we will move on to the public portion, subject to rules established by council, adopted by resolution. That is generally that you have 4 minutes to speak. You come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and please no personal attacks. I'm gonna guess we have a list of 1. Annie Cronin York with the HRC.
Annie Cronin York, Chair, Human Rights Commission, your very own. I've been a very, very busy girl lately. We did the human rights event on December 7th. I had surgery on December 8th. I blew it up the next week when carrying back all the posters from the human rights demonstration. And I got the annual report in before the end of the year. Not before Christmas, but not for lack of trying. We did adopt it at our last meeting, though. Also at the last meeting, I was asked by a council member who is proposing a change to the residency requirement for the Human Rights Commission to discuss with the commissioners to find out their thoughts and feelings on it. I did not participate in the discussion. I just gave them the proposed ordinance and got a rather enthusiastic reply in the negative. Both felt that they had been approached by council members and misled. I don't know anything about that. Wasn't there for those conversations, but that seemed to be their feeling. And nobody had come to a meeting or discussed with us changing residency requirements. And we'd just been through this in July of 2024 when council and commission had this talk and councilors spoke against it. So the thoughts and feelings are, and this is to quote, not from me, if you want to mess with the Human Rights Commission, please at least attend a meeting and talk to us about it before you do that. So that is my report of what was said. If you have issue with that, you can read about it in your minutes and take it up with council and commission, sorry. Also, there have been, I spoke at December 2nd meeting saying that there were 6 people who had applied for the Human Rights Commission. And of those, 3 of them had been to meetings and were residents, and that we liked them. And they seemed like good candidates, and heard nothing. And I checked to see if there'd been an interview scheduled. The answer was no. And so I went through a list of everybody who had applied and sent a lovely email to everyone on council with the city ordinance saying that we make our own bylaws at the Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission bylaw saying that when a vacancy occurs, we are to provide recommended replacements, and the council reviews them, and composition. So then I went through and told you who all was a resident and who all had been to a meeting. And the answer is that 4 of the applicants have been to meetings or a major event and participated in the Human Rights Commission's work for our city residents. And I have no way of understanding why none of these people have been scheduled for interviews. Some of the applicants go back as far as July. They were not people recommended by the Human Rights Commission. But 4 who were, Rochelle Gonzalez, Lucy Allen, Stephanie Hunt, and Amanda Doty. We would really appreciate it if you'd give us some commissioners. It's me, Danny Trejo, who's taking care of MASAP and immigrant families, and translating in courts and staying busy. I'm still doing a full-time law practice, I think. And our other commissioners has had a devastating health occurrence in the family and is not sure of their future on the commission. That would leave 2. And then we can vote on anything because changing bylaws. So, I am not here to be rude or mean or judgmental or anything. Just saying we could really use the help. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public portion. There are no special committee reports this evening and nothing on the consent agenda, which brings us to our new business, consideration to receive and file the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny a petition to reclassify 126 Simpson Street, City Tax District 9, First Ward, Tax Map 37, Parcel 95, from R1A Single Family Residential District to R2 Single and Two Family Residential District, case number MAP 25-108.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Director Yeager will be presenting on this item for you. I did want to call out a little bit of a difference in process related to this. It's still in line with all of our legal requirements, but typically we will present an item on a committee of the whole, bring an item for first reading and second reading related to an ordinance change if proposed. Certainly we did not have committee of the whole in December, so as we continue to look to move forward items in a timely manner, there may be times where items are appropriately presented as a first reading, or in this case, a recommendation to receive and file for an action on this item, bypassing the committee of the whole process. If at any point there is a desire to essentially hear something 3 times, which is not necessarily legally required, but what we're doing with committee of the whole, that staff has put on an agenda for action on the first presentation. Of course, council would have the ability to table an item or reconsider it at a future meeting, but wanted to point that out since it was a little bit outside of what our normal process is. But Director Yeager.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Hope you had a nice holiday and Happy New Year. So the consideration before you is to receive and file the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny the application to rezone 126 Simpson Street from an R1A district to an R2 district. While the property has historically been used as a multifamily dwelling since the 1980s, a change in ownership raised some questions about the use in the R1A district. Since it was not determined that the property had been abandoned per or in accordance with the city's non-conforming provisions in the Planning and Zoning Code, and because the city had already issued a letter of compliance in July of 2025 for a multifamily dwelling, the Planning Commission did not believe it was necessary to rezone the property to continue the grandfathered use. As such, the Commission's recommendation was to deny the application with the understanding that the property can continue operating as a multifamily dwelling regardless of the number of units to be rented by the owner. And that will conclude the report.
Questions for Director Yeager? Thank you. Hold on.
I think I sort of have a question, but I'm not sure exactly what the question should be. So regardless of the number of units, just explain that a little bit further for people who are listening.
So the question is the applicant was traditionally, as I mentioned before, the property has been registered as a multifamily 3-unit dwelling. The applicant in this situation, when they purchased the property, may only rent 2 of those units and not all 3.
Okay.
And so that was the area of concern. When we approached them, or when we were approached with this question, we looked at it as potentially needing to rezone it, but after we had some more discussions and at the Planning Commission meeting, it was decided because the LOC was issued and because the use was still going to be grandfathered in and we couldn't make the determination that it had been abandoned, that to not move forward with the rezone.
So the paperwork that they received recognized it as a 3-unit dwelling?
Correct.
So I guess the regardless of the number of units would mean that it's not a 4, I mean,
They can't rent no more than 3 units.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
Sorry
But
about
they
that.
don't necessarily have to rent all 3 units. If
Well,
he
no,
only
but
wishes
the
to rent
maximum,
2. One was
yes.
like a very small
It's like
attic
an accessory
apartment
dwelling
kind of
unit in the
thing.
back.
Yeah.
Well, that's on a different lot, apparently. That's a different parcel. But there was a very, very small attic unit that he does not necessarily wish to rent. He only wishes to rent it as a 2. And we said, well, it can be a 3-unit and you can choose to only rent 2.
Okay, I'm good. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, I think this highlights the conflict that exists between our comprehensive plan, our current zoning and our non-conforming use, and we're working on addressing non-conforming uses. But we have got to, we've got to get the zoning changes moving forward. We've been clear about goals to address housing affordability, and incremental density like this is one of the only tools that we have direct control over besides, a major public subsidy, which is really difficult. So treating these as exceptions rather than the rule just continues to be problematic. So I just wanted to state that for the record. I appreciate that. I believe staff's recommendation was correct on this, and the planning commission decided what they decided, but I wanted to also state that for the record, that I appreciate the work that staff put into this.
Thank you, sir.
Great. I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to receive and file the planning commission's recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion on this item?
Clerk White?
Yes. Joe Buganim?
Yes.
Jody Hollingshead?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Jenny Celine?
Yes.
Mark Downs?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Trumbull?
Yes, passes 7-0. Our other item of new business this evening, item B, discussion of mobile food vending regulations.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This item as well tonight doesn't call for any formal action of council, but seeking feedback as we move forward to develop some ordinances related to our mobile food vendors. This is an item that it was discussed in 2025. The program was recently reviewed with some minor changes to the program, and staff has continued to monitor that program, seeking feedback, as well as there's been some discussions amongst with some council members asking for us to continue to look at the impacts to some of these regulations. So with that, currently we have ordinances in place that generally prohibit public right-of-way to be used for business without a permit, but we have specific ordinances in place for food trucks or food carts. The Morgantown Parking Authority currently manages that program. They're unable to be here tonight, but as we got together at the staff level, there were 4 major items. I would say a 5th subset item came out as we discussed how this impacts special events and how we're licensing for special events. So there is a 5th spin-off item that we won't necessarily discuss tonight, but some healthy discussion amongst staff on 4 core areas related to this program that we would like to seek additional council feedback for, so we create some new policy guidance. I will briefly go through each one and provide an opportunity if there are any thoughts or considerations we'd like to have on this item. So the first question that we would like council to consider is there a desire to see any expansion of the program? Currently provided a list of areas. There's some maps attached to your agenda tonight that outline where the nighttime food vending occurs. It generally is from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Certainly some of that late night causes some operational concerns for us, fully transparent. But the question on the table would be, is there a desire to see any expansion in items related to hours or location? For example, do we want to consider something like daytime hours at the courthouse square? That is an item that I think before taking any formal action, I would recommend us seeking some additional feedback from key stakeholders. This is an item we attempted to gain some feedback on last time we addressed the program and did not receive a lot of response. But that is the first item that I would like to seek if there's any feedback on. Ryan, do you want to add anything to that item?
No, I think a great description. This is a kind of a part of the recommendations or options that council considered in 2024. The city reached out to Main Street to engage the brick and mortar businesses, as well as reaching out to vendors that participate in the nighttime vending program and that serve, particularly at the Ruby Amphitheater at our events, and got, as the city manager said, kind of minimal feedback. But I understand this is it's a focus area both for staff and for members of council, so there's some opportunities here at least to consider.
Would council like me to run through the other items, or would we like to have any discussion as each item comes forward?
So there's no action.
There's no action. This is just seeking any feedback that would like.
This is
to
as if this were a committee of the whole.
Correct.
I've got some feedback to share
Okay.
if now's the appropriate, so absolutely mobile vendors in many cases aren't playing by the same rules that our brick and mortar businesses in downtown are. I think, and our downtown businesses, as we know, invest heavily in being here and utilizing their property, paying taxes, insurance, and so any system that we create that exacerbates an imbalance, I think, is fundamentally unfair. And I think that is the case by our current program does do that. In terms of vibrancy, food vendor participation in events, special events, is absolutely critical. I think it does contribute to vibrancy, so I'd encourage that to continue. But outside of that, I don't think anybody's coming to downtown Morgantown on a Thursday night to see the hot dog man, right, from Cheat Lake.
Some people do.
Maybe Annie's driving for Suncrest, so I'm not convinced that that this is contributing in a meaningful way to vibrancy in that regard outside of those special circumstances. Now could it? I think with a special area, restricted area, and I know we've got restricted areas, but the restricted areas are all over the place. And the other thing is, if you look at the map is dated 2013. Daniel's was a men's store. Now it's a pizza shop. So we've got food vendors sitting outside of our pizza shop that these people spent, $1 million, creating, and so there's absolutely an issue with trash and cleanliness. Since we have been operating the Garlow building, that the city's been working on putting a fence up, and there's an alleyway back there. Almost without fail, almost every weekend we come in and there's grease dumped in that alley, and I know it's not coming from businesses that are operating in that building. So I think also parking vendors, whether we know this or not, are bagging parking meters and using parking spaces, and that I think is problematic in a number of different ways, in terms of those parking spaces are a premium that I think that hurts all of our businesses downtown when we give parking spaces up for folks to come and access our commercial core. So I'm not opposed to mobile vending, but I do think the current program is problematic, and I would encourage staff to revisit that.
Problematic because it's not all in one location, or because of the rules of it, or the hours?
I think a number of different reasons, and for the reasons that I just went through. I think So, sure, absolutely, it would be better controlled, it would be easier to control if it were more isolated and constrained. I also think it would be more of a destination. It could become more of a destination that way, but just allowing people to spread out. I mean, to Jamie's point, having folks operating at night creates its own operational challenge. But then you distribute those people all over our commercial core, and it becomes even harder.
I agree with Mark on this one. I take advantage of the food vendors at night because I work a night shift. So it's a quick drive, I drive up, grab my hot dogs, and bolt. But I think to put a vendor downtown on the courthouse square or, during the daytime hours takes away from, I like to go down and get chicken or gibbies or, maybe they don't all eat there. I don't know. It's a weird feel. I think vendors are for events and nighttime party kind of situations. But that's just my thoughts on that.
Something I saw that actually I think would be very beneficial, I believe I told you about this with small businesses, was in Iceland they have 4 in a row pop-ups with walls, and they're isolated to their location. But it allows for them to have a rotation of different businesses to be able to come in. And if it can be somehow created to accommodate these pop-up food vendors in which they do become a destination because so-and-so is making donuts only this Thursday of the month, then it would also allow for the opportunity of people to drive by our downtown businesses and become an asset in terms of getting eyes on all the local stuff. So in regards, I think, because personally, I'll be the first to tell you that I am very big on food vendors because my dad owned a catering truck and he owned vending machines. So fully transparent, I think they're a great opportunity. But I also know that we don't want to take away from those that are paying for the brick and mortar because those are the anchor stores that are keeping everyone here. So we can use them and utilize them as a way to get eyes on those other businesses. I'm sure they would be in favor of having a specified location. I know we keep saying the square, I'm not married to the square. I know that's what we're throwing around, but if we had four little huts, for lack of a better word, that allowed electric for these businesses to operate and in which people could sign up and rotate, then it would also allow small businesses an opportunity to see if they can be successful enough to invest in a brick and mortar building.
I think what's detailed here in the document about having it at the farmer's market pavilion is, for nighttime vending, is a pretty good compromise there. I think to Joe's point, it is often food trucks are the ways that chefs will see if they can make it and try to get enough capital to get a brick and mortar store. It is probably the best way to go about owning a restaurant in this day and age. It's incredibly risky to own a restaurant. They fail, more often than not. So, I understand the concern with competition. To be honest, I'd like to see our downtown core to have less bars and restaurants and more retail space. So this, I understand that's cutthroat, but that is the market. It is cutthroat. So that's another consideration I have when thinking about this. I think we should also do things to try to encourage eyes and attention on these small businesses like Roly Poly and all the ones that have been around for a while, with food truck days, things like that.
I was going to say, even if we don't want to make it a 24/7 free-for-all kind of thing, if we could institute a program where Mondays at lunch or, something like that, where a lot of downtown restaurants are closed on Mondays, or if once a month on Saturday we had food truck day or something, so that it's not, there's a lot of food trucks that I would like to try, but I'm not out at 2 a.m. And I don't want to go to all of the events outside of city limits because I don't go to a lot of events outside of city limits. I'd like to have an opportunity to support some of these businesses, though I do understand we have to weigh that with the downtown brick and mortar. I certainly agree with that, but I would like to see a couple more opportunities for daytime use.
This is a separate thing. Does Boat Park use that space behind the pool for food trucks like they were kind of planning on behind the new pool?
They did not have many food trucks say that they were interested in that. So Bow Park is using, they essentially started a food truck, Bow Park Bites, through Eureka Cafe, and they do, I think there's still opportunity for every summer they're going to put out a call to say if there's any food trucks interested, but they didn't get a lot of interest this year.
Even Kona Ice?
They were doggy. They had them at Doggy Day.
They have had a few dessert trucks
2 vendors for
there.
Doggy Day.
That would make, like ice cream, it seems.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money.
Just not a ton of
Yeah.
variety, or, it's like the same ones all the time, that one.
I think what I'm hearing a lot of is, and something that I've often thought, Austin, Texas is obviously a larger market, but they have a real culture of mobile food vendors. There's, people look forward to it. They post online, and a lot of our vendors do that, but I do think that the city could play a role in facilitating that culture here. And I think creating a program like we're all talking about, I think we're all in agreement, and definitely a centralized location helps with that. It makes it an event. It brings people downtown. It, having it at specific times is less competition for our downtown folks. And the culture of it sort of accomplishes everything that we want to. So if there's a program or initiative that we as a city can put forward, I think it would benefit a lot of the vendors and the downtown. One thing that hasn't been mentioned that I do want to mention is keeping in mind our relationship with WVU students. And while we aren't getting hot dogs from the hot dog man at 2 a.m., they sure are. So I just want to keep them in mind, and hot dogs in those alcohol bellies aren't a bad idea.
We definitely need the nighttime vendors.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm hearing, I would like to seek opportunity for the role the city can play in creating this culture and this excitement for food vendors in this way, with the centralized location and the specific times.
And to comment further on the recommendations here, I think proposing an ordinance update to establish mobile food vendor permits specifically, I think is that's reasonable and a good idea to have. I think also Mark's comment about the dumping the grease is not the first time I've heard that. So, tighter enforcement on that sort of thing, and maybe that could come part and parcel with the issuing of these permits and what that means.
And some compliance tail, right? That's the.
Because restaurants have to follow a lot of compliance.
Right. I mean, there's health department, there's fire and safety, and then obviously taxes.
Yes.
I think encouraging and having that list of approved vendors that then could be shared with Bow Park and other people who are wanting to have events. And like everyone has been saying, the idea of having, when we have the late night vendors, just having them more close together and purposeful wherever they are. So late night vendors might be at a location that wouldn't be a location that you'd use for daytime vendors. So maybe daytime vendors is under the farmer's market shelter, or maybe it's on the courthouse square, but maybe nighttime vendors, it's some other place that links food places, other places that are open late at night, that sort of pulls people down into the downtown. And so a purposeful location that brought people in, because often if there's a food area, it helps the brick and mortar people, and it helps the people who have the food trucks. And sometimes vendors, sometimes someone who has a brick and mortar business, many of them also have a food truck. And I know of some of them from the past, and I know of a few of them now. I probably don't know all of them, so it could be that we need to kind of ask a lot more questions of the vendors themselves. I get a little bit embarrassed when I go somewhere else, and there's a really cool food truck that I'm not familiar with, and they're from Morgantown, and I'm in Bridgeport or somewhere else, and that's where they're going because it's hard to follow our rules. So it would be nice and make it more interesting in the downtown if we can figure out ways like Monday nights or whatever would make it so it was a good, regular, and profitable place for someone to come and not interfere with the businesses that we already have.
We kind of hit the food trucks in general, the licensure requirement, the alternative location. I think we kind of hit on everything, but whatever else you would like to go through.
No, I certainly would agree. I do want to hit on some of the citation issues or the compliance issues that we are experiencing as we maybe tighten up on those, and trash and the grease and may involve us looking at a process, or there's currently authority given to suspend or, disbar, but making sure that's clear and understandable of what that process walk looks like, so people understand when they're losing their right to be involved in this type of way. They've been given every chance to come into compliance before we take that action.
So what it takes to be a food truck or a food business, and then what's expected of them, like dealing with trash, and that we're going to be watching them so that we're, whatever we expect, we're making sure that people know if they're not complying.
Do we know who's setting out outside of Connie and Frank's? Because the sidewalk there is a mess.
Right.
The church, Connie Frank's,
Yeah.
and the business across the
Yeah.
street. Those are your problem areas. That's what I see at night.
If we could just deputize Wheeze, she's already
I
out.
mean, handle it. Listen, no, you'd have to kill me not to get my hot dogs in. But, yeah, I know which vendors you're talking about.
And we should make it very clear that we're not seeking to remove food trucks. Because the last time that we did that in 2013, we were famous worldwide
Yeah,
in the wrong way. So we're wanting food trucks, everyone.
just compliance,
Yeah.
so I agree.
Any other specific items you want to make sure we touch on?
No, just to follow on that comment about the area maintenance and cleanliness requirements, I mean, they've long been a part of the program administered by the parking authority. The regulations for this program and permitting were updated January 2025 to add a bit more structure and specific requirements on cleaning your space. Permits were changed to a monthly permit through the parking authority so that they would have a bit more opportunity to check in on meeting those requirements and take action. I know they've done that in at least one instance where a vendor wasn't cleaning up their space. They declined to then rent that space for the following month or several months. But also staff reported some of these same persistent problem areas. So while we have some background in place with the regulations, I think some of these other changes that the council is discussing, the staff is also discussing to make this a better venue for all the vendors and for the customers can go hand in hand with being able to enforce those regulations better.
Could we ask, if dumping of grease is a chronic issue, could we ask the vendors for suggestions for what we do about that issue? I mean, it just seems like that's an issue. Do we need a mobile place where they put their grease? I mean, what would solve that issue? Because it seems like
Usually
dumping
a
of grease
company
is
brings-
disgusting.
Usually a business will have a company come to their business and dispose of their grease.
Yeah.
You have a
for them.
specialized
Right.
tank.
Right.
So there might be a smaller tank that could be put somewhere.
But then who pays to, maybe they all pay a
Vendors-
fee.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, the vendors would have to
Yeah.
pay that fee for the pickup. Then you have to look at locations.
Other places have solved the grease issue, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly.
they have a tanker.
The only other thing I would say is if we are talking about programming something like weekly, is that we should be like real careful and intentional about like how many spaces we provide and rotating those spaces. I know like trying to program for events, the first thing a food truck vendor asks me is how many people are going to be there and how many other food trucks are there, because they want to ensure that they're making money. And usually what are they offering? Like if I have 3 coffee people come in, somebody's going to make all of it and nobody else is. So that's just a consideration we need to have when we're doing it, so they don't get frustrated by that.
Sure, absolutely. Great, thank you for that feedback tonight, that was helpful.
Moving along,
No?
city managers report.
Wonderful, thank you. In a recent email sent to schedule some one-on-one discussions related to the first part of the budget. This first round of discussions will focus primarily on capital, revenue, and outside agency funding requests. We have the tentative, January 13th and 14th are the times that have been set aside. You all have an email on those time slots that are available. Those of you who I have not heard back from, if you don't mind shooting me over what time works best for you so that we can get that scheduled. If none of those times work for you, if you just let us know so that we can coordinate an alternate time with staff for you. As a reminder, offices are closed January 19th, that's Monday, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. January 14th at 6 p.m. at the Marilla Center, and January 22nd at 6 p.m. at Woodburn. You all have seen information go out on that as well, related to listening sessions on some of the housing affordability initiatives that are currently being considered. We look forward to bringing the feedback from those sessions to the February Committee of the Whole, as well as, and we have some ordinances that are already well in the drafting process and being able to move some of those forward that will help with some of those initiatives we've been talking a while on. Just a teaser as we look to the January Committee of the Whole, we do have MUB coming forward to talk about their Star City acquisition request. If there is specific information ahead of time that council would like, or if they would like any one-on-one to sit down with MUB staff or any questions that we can address, happy to coordinate that contact and make sure that we're getting all the information we need at that time. We'll also be talking about the municipal ID program and the strategic plan as we look what we've accomplished over the last 2 years and as we plan for the rest of the strategic plan session that's currently in place. I think it's important we discuss that as we head into budget season, because we know that there'll be some prioritization that needs to occur with the budget, so making sure that we're in alignment with what we say that our strategic goals are. The other item, and Councilor Downs mentioned, is the non-conforming use as we continue to navigate that process forward related to the Planning Commission or the BZA, but that's another item that should be coming before you all shortly to get across the finish line. So just highlighting a couple of those items that are forthcoming in the next couple of months. We're looking forward to wrapping up.
Okay. Thank you. Report from City Clerk.
Yes, thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
This will be my next to last push for police and fire applicants. Our testing is coming up, and in the end of January, the agility exam for entry-level fire is January 31st, so folks can still apply to take the agility exam for fire, entry-level fire department, firefighter, and the written exam is on February 26th. Also, entry-level police department will be holding their written exam and agility on the same day on January 24th. Currently, we have 23 applicants for the police and 27 applicants for the fire. We know that as we get closer to that date, the number does increase, so we're hopeful that it continues to rise. There will be an open house, one more open house for the fire department. Folks can come on January 15th. That's a Saturday. I'm sorry, I'm telling you the wrong date. January
17th.
17th, it looks like
It
on my
is Saturday,
calendar.
okay, that's correct. January 17th, Fire Civil Service Open House, so folks can reach out to the clerk's office and we will get all the information to them for that open house and for the applications to apply. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for the thoughtful discussion of the mobile food vendors item tonight. I know staff has been doing good work on that as well. I think we have some good direction on following up on those internal issues, doing some outreach to our businesses and vendors, and then drafting ordinance changes to present back to council. So I'll begin working on all three of those in conjunction with Jamie and staff, but get ordinance drafts out to council to address the proposals discussed. Also, as you all know, the legislative session is beginning January 14th. I know many of our council members are active in tracking and following legislation. The Municipal League does a great job identifying bills that are impactful for municipalities and tracking those as well, but I'm always available to provide background on any bills you're interested in or to follow particular subjects if you need, so please don't hesitate to reach out. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Report from council members. Deputy Mayor Butcher, would you like to go first?
Sure, I have nothing to report.
Great, that was so easy.
I hope everybody had a great holiday, though.
Counselor Downs, no pressure?
I'll keep, at a past committee of the whole, we talked about committee structures and several alternatives, and I just wanted to remind folks that Deputy Mayor Butcher circulated some alternatives, and I encouraged us to move those forward. I believe we've got a number of different areas highlighted by tonight's agenda, and we continue to talk in and around the same issues, and I just think we've got some housekeeping to do, and a structure like this, even if the committees are temporary, gives us some kind of vehicle by which to do the work that we need to do. And I want to do it, so please, again, get back to Deputy Mayor Butcher on that proposed committee, those committee alternatives, please. Thank you.
I wanted to say that I finally, usually I'm gone the time of year when the Evansdale Neighborhood Association does a really nice job of putting out candles in bags up and down the street as an event, and they had hot chocolate and a little fire in a container, and it was very nice. And I appreciate that they have cultivated this event over the years, and I finally got to go, and it was very nice. And usually it's sometime right before Christmas, but it's not specifically it's something that anybody of any persuasion would enjoy. It's not high stakes Christmassy, it's mainly neighborhoodly, if that makes sense. And I just like, and everyone's neighborhoods has them, but I like the kind of homegrown events that people come up with and appreciate them. And that's enough for me. Thanks.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Everybody, I hope you had a nice new year, and I also have nothing to report.
I just want to say thank you to the city staff for addressing the snow on New Year's Day. So you weren't here last year. My neighborhood was without power on New Year's Day because it was snowing. It was like 3 days.
Wow.
I am happy to say that everybody had power going into this new year, and that is my report.
Seems like everyone's very excited for our long executive session. We have First Friday for the Arts in downtown this Friday, which is second Friday, but they delayed it a week for the holidays. So second Friday for the Arts will be throughout downtown this week from 6 to 9 p.m. We're also working on another warm-up event that we've held for the last couple of years, which is a fundraiser to help support operation of the warming shelter. That will be at 123 Pleasant Street on January 28th. It's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. Food and entertainment announcement to be coming soon as I get that all done. The only other thing I wanted to mention, I guess I'll keep mine short too, the holiday lights in downtown were very well received. I was surprised at the number of people who felt the need to reach out. They got up close to the holiday. Hopefully, as the city manager has said, next year it'll be a little earlier and maybe we can even expand that. But the number of people who reached out and said, this really makes it feel like a warm, welcoming place. What else can we do to make downtown, give Morgantown that small town feel that people value about being here? Really got my wheels spinning about what else we can do to kind of give people that reminiscent, nostalgic feeling in these kinds of crazy times. So I personally would like to try to resurrect our 4th of July parade, especially this year on its 250th anniversary. That's something Jenny knows. People reach out to one or both of us for months leading up to the 4th of July. Like, are we going to have a parade this year? I've already mentioned this to a few people that are in my circle, and a lot of folks have volunteered to help with the committee. So I really think that's something that I would like to try to take on and we should look into doing. I think it would be well received and make people create community.
Talk to Charlie.
Charlie McEwen?
Don't make him do it.
Don't make Charlie do it, just
But
give us
talk to
input.
Charlie, because he was one of the last people that helped.
Great.
There was like a committee of us, including me, that did it the last time that it was done. And there are definitely people that would help, and there are people that are excited, and there were people who have asked about it quite a bit.
Absolutely. So look forward
But you have to start early,
Yeah,
so we're almost late
I'm working
now.
on it now. It's January. I've got almost 6 months.
And coordinate with whatever's going on at the amphitheater so that it's well before that, so then people can go there and then they can slow down.
Sounds like Jenny should be on the committee.
I'm sure that I should be on the committee, and I'm sure I'm willing to be on the committee because it was a very nice thing and I enjoyed doing it.
Fantastic. Really filling out the committee. I'm excited. I will leave it at there for tonight. I also had the housing thing, but the city manager already spoke about that. So if there is anyone willing to read us into these very long executive
want me to do
session
that?
items, that would be fantastic.
So we are moving that we have these executive sessions. Discussion of matters relating to, should I just read the numbers? We'll read the whole thing. Discussion of matters related to the development of property and/or investment of public funds in the area of Spruce Street, Willie Street, and Richwood Avenue. It is anticipated this item will be discussed in executive session pursuant to Code Sections 6-9A4B9, pursuant to State Code Section 69A4B2A to discuss personnel matters and considering new appointments for boards and commissions, pursuant to West Virginia State Code 6-9A4B2A to discuss personnel matters and considering matters arising from the employment of a public employee related to the 6-month evaluation of the city manager.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Yes. We will take a short recess and then we will begin our executive session.